Allison, I'm too good a person. To bring things up that I might have a grievance with in our lives. I'm too good a person. Oh, I'm going to turn the headphones up right up here.
Okay.
So, and I won't do it. I would never say that you're a person who sometimes hands things off to me that are set to become problems, that where you put the timer on so that it will self-destruct when I'm into it. So, for instance, with not thinking the big picture, I would never suggest that you do that ever. Like, for instance, today, actually, my headphones seem kind of low. For instance, today, I put the trash out last night, the big container out last night. Mm-hmm. And then today, because you're waiting for it to arrive up here again, up to the top of the driveway again, you emptied the kitchen trash bag, and put that outside.
Okay.
Of course. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, it was then rained into.
Okay.
Endlessly. Catastrophically. So I'm just saying, I'm asking you, and I like you very much, and I think you're generally a good person. I'm asking you just to try to think of the...
I didn't know it was going to rain.
I understand.
The trash was full. And
I understand.
You did the bag out.
I understand, but it's at that point, while you're going out and you see, okay, so my options now are to leave it right outside, or leave it right inside, or go get the trash thing and bring it up and then put it inside there. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying there's always silverbacks that are coming to harm you.
Okay.
And always assume, Alice, when I catch my heart attack, you're going to need to know this stuff.
I mean... A lot of times, I'm rushing between meetings. I'm making the kids breakfast. I'm here, I'm there. I didn't have a spot to put it. I didn't have time to run and get it. Things were happening. Stuff was going on. I had to get our daughter out to softball camp this morning. Like, a lot of things were happening this morning, just so you know.
I understand. This is a teachable moment. I'm asking you for help.
I thought your problem was with my garlic I was eating.
That's another thing. We'll go to. Okay. That's not a problem. I mean... It's fine. I mean, you're eating a bowl of roasted garlic.
Well, I was nibbling a few pieces before I put it in my salad that I made myself.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, when I saw you were eating a bowl of roasted garlic, that's fine. But we've already got one of me in the house, Alice. I don't necessarily think we should duplicate that.
Garlic is super healthy and not fattening at all.
Okay, that's right. And it's known to smell wonderful for hours and days on end. That's fine. I'm not complaining. That's fine. I respect that, obviously. Obviously. I mean...
It's immune boosting.
I would like to see you every once in a while.
As a supplement.
Alice, I know. But most people don't eat a bowl of garlic. It's just true.
I wasn't eating the bowl. Okay. I was making myself a salad, and I had the bowl of garlic that I roasted, and I ate a piece or two before I put it in my salad. I don't get why I'm under attack here.
You're certainly not under attack.
I am under attack.
That's not under attack whatsoever. I'm just, it's fine. So here's my other thing.
There's 3 things today?
Have you completed your homework for Awaken 180?
Not yet.
Why not?
Because I've been working and stuff.
All right. Well, you're going to need
My job is more than 4 hours a day. I'm just saying.
Well, so is mine also.
I know.
But it's generally, it's
But my job has more than 4 hours of actually needing to be on.
If somebody is hiring for e-commerce-y stuff for let's say a couple of $100,000, please hire Alice. She's available. So here's my thing. So we're going to do Awaken 180. I think. Who knows? So this is Alice.
Are you allowed to say this yet even?
I don't know, but I'm saying it. But so this is, you need to know that this is the movie Green Card, where we need to be fibbing consistently together about our bad habits.
Okay. I don't think garlic is going to be on their list of things that you can't have.
Yes, I realize that. I realize that. But I think drinking is. As a matter of fact,
that's true.
I know drinking is.
I know.
So let's make sure we're nice and consistent with our fibbing. They're going to know we're lying regardless.
I think we should be consistent with not drinking when we're on it.
Yes, okay, that's fine. But going in, Alice, we need to make sure that we don't set off flags.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it, as a matter of fact, very much. The questionnaire thing that I did today was very interesting. Very interesting. It asks you if you've got all these physical ailments. Have they been diagnosed? It's most of them I assume I have but they just haven't been diagnosed. Like, I haven't gotten it checked, But anyway, we talked to these. I talked to the Paige who started the company, and she is so, and obviously we're fibbing about the, whatever. But anyway, she's very interesting, and I think it's really going to happen. I think we're going to be doing a thing soon, and I'm excited about that.
You think we're going to be skinny?
I don't know, but I can tell you one thing: by doing yard work every day, and like today too, I was like really in there. I was where the ticks don't go, in the deep brush, pulling bittersweet and this crap up. It's a lot of exercise. It really is. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I like the idea of maybe if we can just drastically change our everyday experience, and the kids could help if they learn to like do the dishes, which they almost did this morning. Then the operation seems to have stopped.
James unloaded the dishwasher this morning.
I know, but he was loading it then, but that got something happened there. But so I'm looking forward to it. I hope that we can get something done too. Because remember, then we're seeing our cousins in November. I can't be the fattest one.
I don't know if any of them is going to be fatter than you. I hate to tell you.
No, I'll be the fattest cousin. But I mean, it's a horse race between me and my brother, probably. So that. And
he's gotten in pretty good shape, actually.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, this is not great. This is not great. What's happening here? So what's going on in the world, Abby B?
Oh, lots of things. We didn't even get to that much stuff yesterday because there was so much going on, and we mostly did an expose on Katie Turr for our show yesterday. But a variety of things are happening. Jill just got done visiting Massachusetts. Jill Biden.
Right.
She was actually right down the street from us in Andover, apparently. Where in Andover, do you know? I'm curious what it was at a fancy rich people fundraiser.
I assume so. Yeah, country club or something.
Yeah. So mostly she complained that life hasn't been fair to Joe Biden. Right. She said that the president has had so many hopes and plans for the things he wanted to do, but every time you turn around, he had to address the problems of the moment. Biden also announced she expects to meet next week with the First Lady of Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. She noted gun violence, the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision, the war in Ukraine as problems the president did not anticipate. He's just had so many things thrown his way, she said. Who would have ever...
Did this President Joe Biden ever criticize a Republican president for not handling things they did not anticipate? Well, has he ever been critical of Republicans?
I would say he possibly was critical of Trump's handling of COVID.
Yes, I would say so. Didn't anticipate. How dare she? Who's writing this crap for them? It's so moron. You can't send her out to say this stuff. God, it's so stupid. Reassure us, Dr. Jill. Reassure us things are fine. Well, he didn't anticipate this stuff, guys. This has really been hard for us.
He's just had so many things thrown his way, she said. Who would have ever thought about what happened with Roe v. Wade? Well, maybe we saw it coming, but we still didn't believe it. The gun violence in this country is absolutely appalling.
Somebody killed the Keystone Pipeline and limited offshore drilling.
We didn't see the war in Ukraine coming. Biden said that she, too, felt hamstrung in her role as First Lady.
They actually kind of did see the war in Ukraine coming. They were saying it pretty much at the beginning of his administration.
Right. Yeah. Biden said that she, too, felt hamstrung in her role as First Lady and had been unexpectedly pulled in other directions from the course she initially intended. I was saying to myself, okay, I was Second Lady. I worked on community colleges. I worked on military families. I've worked on cancer. They were supposed to be my areas of focus. But then when we got to the White House, I had to be with all that was happening, the First Lady of the moment.
Oh, my God. Who's telling her to say this?
She's been pulled in so many directions. Nobody wants her pulled in their direction. Like, you can go work on military families and community colleges. Like, you don't have to weigh in on any of this stuff.
I expected to be the First Lady of Utopia. But things are happening everywhere. My God, it's such an entitled thing to say. It really is. And it tells you, actually, if she was not prepared, that he was not prepared.
Yeah, no, it tells you. I think that she pushed him into running, and they thought it would be easy, like being vice president. where you just show up at events and people are happy to see you and you hold the big scissors at the ribbon cutting and it's a good time. Like there was no pressure in the Obama White House on Biden in particular, really.
Right.
I mean, like people made fun of his gaffes and whatever.
No,
but
that was actually a perfect role for him. VP is a perfect role for a guy like Joe Biden.
Because there's no real responsibility over anything.
And you can blow hot air all over the place and attaboy people, backslap and, be adamant about stuff. And no, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it's very telling, like, that she said that in there, that, back when I was the second lady, I did all this stuff. And, like, now it's not the same. Yeah, because there's real responsibilities this time. Like, sorry. And Joe Biden is useless. And he doesn't know how to handle any of it. She's frustrated about Roe v. Wade. She thinks people should think about doing more than protesting. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So many young girls, my own grandchildren included, went up to the Supreme Court and marched. I said, okay, good for you, but what are you going to do next? You feel good about yourself because you voiced your opinion, but what are you going to do next? What's your plan? I don't know what that's supposed to mean either. But she's mad. She's mad at Joe Manchin killing the climate bill. She's mad. I mean, like, but what a bunch of grievance-driven people. Talk about whatever Hillary Clinton said about Clarence Thomas, that he's a person of grievance. Like, the Bidens are people of grievance. Everything is not their fault, not their problem. How could this happen to us?
I also, Alice, never remotely spoke to my grandmother about abortion. That was not a thing that...
She didn't tell you to get out in March?
No. I mean, anything like... I mean, what the... Hey, honey, well, guess what? Your right to do this grisly act, if things get bad for you, is going to be a little bit more difficult depending on where you live. So make sure... What kind of conversations are you people having with people? Just be a grandmother, for frig's sake.
Yeah, Democrats are weird people, though. I guess, if that's how they talk about things, if that's what they're talking to the kids about that, and
by the way, the reason that he has a 30% approval rating is because he didn't get out and do anything about the Roe decision.
Right.
The left was begging him, okay, you've got 6 weeks. Pull a rabbit out of your hat. Have something ready. He had nothing ready.
Yeah.
So talk to the old man about getting out and doing something. He didn't even go and protest at the Supreme Court.
No.
He did nothing.
No. He went and talked bad about the Supreme Court in Europe. This outrageous decision. This extreme Supreme Court. Can't believe, to people in Europe about how our country's going in the wrong direction. But you have to wonder who's around them that's what they think. Because, Biden has now a few times, when questioned about his low approval rating and how people think the country's going in the wrong direction, has said things about like, oh, well, the Supreme Court. Oh, well, my legislation's been blocked. Like, I think he legitimately thinks, and the people around him are agreeing with him, that the reason why he's unpopular is that he hasn't pushed things in a far left enough direction.
I think some people are. There's no doubt about that.
I think he thinks that the reason he's not popular is because he couldn't get Build Back Better passed. Although we would have had even worse inflation if he had passed the stupid Build Back Better. He's still talking about it. I know. Or the stupid climate thing that they want. Any of this stuff. They're out of their minds. They're coming up with every wrong plan to try and do something about these things, only making problems worse. Like, everything they touch just turns to ash. It's terrible. And, the idea that he walks around thinking that people are upset because he's not doing more. I mean, I know there's some fringy weirdos. I saw another post today by some COVID psycho. They're all upset about this new Omicron variant, right? That it's like the worst one yet. It's spreading so much, and they're like, I can't believe they're not protecting us from the whatever this variant is called, and it's incredible. This is a mass disabling event. More and more people are dying and being disabled by long COVID. No one's protecting us anymore. It's incredible that we have no public health policy at all. Like, there is a small portion of people who think the government should do more on COVID, but most people are done with COVID and don't want him to enforce vaccine mandates and mask mandates on planes and every other nuts thing. I mean, people were happy that the mask mandate on the planes got lifted.
Listen to this instance of talking in circles. Mm-hmm. This is a reporter from Connecticut named John Craven, and he's talking to the health czar there, whose name is Manisha something, and he is asking questions that people should have been asking a year and a half, and listen to her circular answers.
We're hearing so much about this new Omicron subvariant. They're calling it vaccine proof. If it's so resistant against the vaccine, how do you make the case to get the vaccine?
So this is a very fair question and a tough reality that people are faced with, which is that the most recent Omicron variant that we're seeing seems to be more likely to cause infection, seems to be more likely to cause reinfection. What the vaccines still do.
You hear those words?
Mm-hmm. What the vaccines still do.
Right. Okay, there's not much left of our block of original claims, but what they still do
is prevent people from getting the worst outcomes from COVID. That has been consistent across.
Now, that's also not 100%. Mm-hmm. You can still get COVID and die from COVID.
Right.
You can. Now, but she said it absolutely, but because some things they say absolutely, some things they never say. They always go cautionary.
There's plenty of vaccinated people who have died of COVID, too.
Right.
The board that the vaccine helps prevent the most serious outcomes. It also seems to have less inclination towards long COVID for people.
I like this. Her medical professional using seems to be less long COVID-y when you have it. That's what it seems like to us.
Well, in fairness to them, it's a little hard to figure out what's going on with long COVID because many of the people that claim to have long COVID are full of it.
Seem to be lying.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely people that have very serious COVID that have like organ damage and stuff because, you know, when you're very seriously ill like that and your heart is failing and your lungs are failing and you're on a ventilator, like it leaves long-term impacts on you, right? But, you know, like a lot of the people that claim to have long COVID, first of all, it seems to afflict women a lot more than men, which tracks with like, you know, lots of sort of hard to pin down illnesses, hysterical illnesses, right? Not to say it's not real for some people, but like a lot of women seem to get long COVID and a lot of them seem to have symptoms like brain fog and like being tired a lot. And what's really interesting is that not actually a lot of the people who claim to have long COVID have actually had positive COVID tests or positive antibody tests for COVID.
Really? So some of them may not have had COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of the people who claim to have long COVID don't have no history of being diagnosed with COVID by a test or any other thing. They just believe that they've probably had it maybe asymptomatically and they've now ended up with long COVID.
People who do get infected. So if you've been vaccinated, you are less likely to have some of those other complications that we've seen happen from COVID. So although I understand that it may not prevent all infection, when we know that we have a vaccine that can prevent some of those worst outcomes that we've seen, in my calculation and by all public health standards, it's still worth it to go out and get vaccinated.
So should people get a boost?
It's still worth it. Remember that? Remember where we were a year and a half ago? You have to, you're killing your neighbor. Now we're to, it's still worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and a year and a half ago, I think it probably was worth it because there still were people who were like pretty vulnerable to those variants who hadn't been vaccinated or exposed to COVID at all. And some of those variants that were back then were like pretty bad. Now we're in like Omicron world where realistically, like I've seen a lot of analysis that shows that that excess deaths are back to baseline. Like our actual number of total deaths in the country is back to where it was pre-COVID. Which is, I mean, that's a good sign, obviously. But it means there's like really not any traceable COVID deaths at this point. Like, yeah, people are still dying who have a COVID diagnosis, but
Sorry,
there's
turn
just
the phones up too loud.
There's just not actually there's just not actually like evidence that it's impacting the rates of death in this country, which is when they turn to the long COVID and how this is a mass disabling event and so many people are going to have long COVID and be on disability, and we haven't fully grappled with the consequences of this. Like, you know what? People back in time had like worse nutrition than us, got all kinds of diseases. Like, stop whining, please. Like, people get diseases. It happens, right? And like, I mean, people even get bad diseases sometimes, and sometimes people die of them. And like, we live in one of the healthiest times to live in human history. This is not like some unprecedented, but they've worked this thing up in their brain to be this crazy, like, once in history event, when really it's, for the scheme of things, for the impact of like pandemics past, like the 1918 flu epidemic, or I mean, going back even further, like smallpox or the Black Death or something like that. This does not rate with those. It's a big deal, certainly, but this isn't like Black Death, a quarter of the population of Europe just dying off in a couple of decades. This is, a much more manageable thing. And like, and yeah, we're not going to take no risk forever. This was actually borne out. There was a big poll. I think this was a New York Times poll. But they asked people there, and this backs up other results that people have gotten lately. They asked people what they thought the biggest problem facing the country today was. And huge amounts said economic concerns, inflation, etc. Less than 1% picked coronavirus, and it was so few people that it was rounded down to 0%. And this backs up a Monmouth poll earlier this month that said 1% said it was the biggest concern facing their family. It's really like people do not care about this anymore.
What is your schedule like tomorrow? Can you join me on air to talk about this on the show?
Maybe.
All right. I'll ask you again tomorrow.
But this administration pushing back to try and fight for their right to put mask mandates on airplanes or to like push for more vaccine doses and stuff, like that's not where people are. Like, yeah, there's this weird loud minority that have like fully invested in this COVID thing that are all about this, but it's really it's really not top of mind for anyone.
So now, or should they wait for this new booster?
So what I would say is if you've not been boosted yet and it's still July, I would go out and get that booster.
No.
Again, we've seen that chances of more worse outcomes are less once you've been...
I hate them. And I'm sick of Fauci said he's resigning.
Before Biden leaves.
Whatever. I have no faith in these people being anything but opportunistic.
That tells me, I think Fauci's worried a Republican is going to come back in.
Well, he's going to be hauled in front of committees anyway.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, maybe even in 2022 he'll be hauled in front of committees. He'll get yelled at by Rand Paul all day long, which is going to be miserable for him since he doesn't like that kind of interview, only the really friendly interviews.
So things are not good for the Biden administration.
No.
And it's not good generally for Democrats. Go ahead. Looks like you want the ball. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to add one more
thing
about
by
this
the way. You
New
look
York
very
Times
pretty.
CNN
Everything
poll.
you're doing today, I think you should do.
Thank you, honey.
You don't have to call me honey.
One of the things that was also in this poll is that on the generic congressional ballot, Republicans are doing better with minorities and with women than they ever have historically.
Wow.
And that the gap between white voters and non-white voters and men and women voters is smaller than it's ever been historically, which like you can tell. This CNN wrote a piece about it. Harry Enton
Joe
did,
Biden,
who's like their poll guy.
Harry Enton's good.
He wrote a whole piece about it, and you could like feel the bewilderment coming out of the paragraphs because he was saying like, it's interesting that like the Roe v. Wade hasn't moved like the needle with women voters, that they're still voting more Republican than they ever have. Like they're still in this weird operational model from like the 90s of who Democrats are and who Republicans are and like the issues that they care about. And they haven't updated to move on to new stuff.
Well, right. And the numerous challenges that women had in the 50s and 60s and until 73 were stories were anecdotes all over the place. These were stories that were much closer to the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Things were much more obviously puritanical and traditional then, etc. So it was much more of a salient thing back then. It's not anymore. There's 1,000 billion trillion, safeguards to take, etc. And it's women have jobs and careers and all this. That it's just simply not. We're not in 1973 anymore.
Right. Things have moved a lot since Roe v. Wade happened. Like the science has changed of what we know about pregnancy and the medicine of how early we're able to save babies. And but also, like you point out, the culture around childbearing and around marriage has changed so much since that time that it's really like almost unfathomable. And I mean, I think they probably got like a little bit of a bump from the Roe v. Wade thing with certain women, but I think the effect of that is going to continue to wear off more. Like I think more and more people are going to go, my life is still the same. Nothing really changed for me.
Right. I do think that that's true. The way it's done now, since it's a patchwork of state laws now, is that women are looking into it, doing research, and when you do research, you learn about the issue. And I think that blunts part of the scare that I think that they thought that they would be having.
But just to illustrate how far the culture has changed in terms of child rearing, Insider.com, which I guess is like part of what the family of brands that used to be Business Insider, I guess, they ran a piece this week that says, moms who went through COVID breakups say solo parenting is much easier. For some, it feels like a cheat. When the COVID-19 pandemic began, Chelsea Wiley never expected her marriage to her high school sweetheart would implode, but the endless hours spent in quarantine made it clear the couple wasn't seeing eye to eye on parenting. Wiley, the mother of a 7-year-old and 3-year-old twin, said she tries to parent from a place of emotional awareness, but it became clear that her then husband operated from a top-down, my house, my rules mindset. As the summer of 2020 wore on, Wiley said the couple began to feel more like two lonely roommates than connected partners. By October 2020, they had emotionally separated, and by the following fall, they were no longer sharing a home. Before her separation, she was horrified about parenting alone, she said. Partnered her entire adult life, she worried about single-handedly meeting the household demands of dirty dishes, meal prep, laundry, and homework. But when she and her daughters moved into their own home, Wiley found that co-parenting with her ex was in fact easier. She could set clear rules and expectations, which resulted in fewer messes, more efficiently completed household tasks, and delightfully more sleep. Every week is different, but the fact that I have this freedom is something married parents never seem to have, she said. Hard data on how the pandemic has affected U.S. divorce rates remains to be seen. So then they go on with all this anecdotal stuff. They talk to therapists saying how basically great it is and how it's so freeing to divorce your husband and just go be on your own, which I find like to be an astonishing thing to write, frankly, given what we know about how divorce impacts kids. But the kids' emotional well-being doesn't really seem to factor in here.
That's right. No,
this is about, what's her name? This is about Chelsea's freedom. And she gets more sleep now. And she's more freed. And she can now parent from a place of emotional awareness. And like her husband's top-down approach. Everything's at peace. Tra-la-la. Yeah. Everything's great.
I think kids are better with dad in this situation. I would say that's absolutely true. There is one other thing I want to bring up, which is this New York Times article, New York Times article called "Can't Talk, I'm Busy Being Hot." We didn't discuss this last night, did we?
Mm-mm.
Can't talk, I'm busy being hot. A social media movement inspired by the rapper Megan Thee Stallion strike back at the gatekeepers of beauty. The part of it says, these days, being hot no longer pertains only to your physical appearance, but includes how you move through the world and how you see yourself. The conflict between how you see yourself versus how the world sees you courses through American life. And Liz Wolfe, who I want to have on sometime, who's from Reason Magazine, says, quote tweeted and said, the much maligned male gaze and being objectively hot, confirmed by other people, not just self-declared, will never go out of style. no matter how much Megan Thee Stallion and Gen Z and the New York Times want to redefine this all as empowerment/confidence, detached from any objective reality. And of course, she is right. And I'm not going to mention that. Just somebody I know tweeted a picture of herself in something rather skimpy, and she's probably weighs as much as I do, and all the replies were, "Oh my God, beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful." And this is we shouldn't do this. One, being fat is not healthy, so we shouldn't be saying this or lying to people. Two, generally, it's not. Technically, there is a beauty standard. Face symmetry, curviness, the complexion, etc. There is a beauty standard. Generally, there are similarities between almost all cultures of the beauty standard.
With some little tweaks at the edges.
Well, but the standard the beauty standard is different than who you find hot. We can see that some people are just built ridiculously well. You know, I don't even know who I'd say. Like Kate Upton is hot.
Megan Fox.
I don't even know. But picture a model. What's her name? Emily Noshinsky.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
The one with the breasts from the Blurred Lines video.
Yes.
She's just beautiful for several reasons, and you may not be into her look or your look. That's fine. As a guy, who's the guy who plays Thor?
Hemsworth.
Right. He is
Chris Hemsworth. I forget which one it is.
You would say that he is beautiful.
Yeah, he's a good-looking fellow. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bill Malugin.
There you go.
He's just a good-looking guy.
Right.
You can't see it.
He's not. You're right. Exactly. He is a good-looking guy. All the math makes sense.
Right.
He's got all the things that make you a good-looking guy. You know, and nobody should be like, you shouldn't. Who cares? I mean, it is absolutely unfair. The worst kind of good-looking guys are the guys who think they know how to pick up women because they're good-looking guys, even though they don't do nothing at all.
They haven't earned it. It's an unearned privilege.
But like this whole thing of finding like ugliness, like that state rep or whatever from Rhode Island who did the twerking thing, like she's gross. What did he say? Can you go and handle that?
I'm coming.
Are you going to be up here, Cyril, so Mommy can come right back? Oh, my goodness. Okay. So just this idea that we're trying to push this BS on people, and it has to be, oh, yes, absolutely. It's okay. Just we don't have to lie to everybody. Tom Shattuck is not beautiful, okay? It's fine, okay? I am, at this point, corpulent as hell, and at my best, was passable, but not shirtless, ever. But, I mean, we're not helping each other when we pull truth out of everything. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't find beauty inside, and I know that mostly women usually say, oh, come on, we don't have to judge each other. And the producer of my show today said, oh, but people were so terrible. And the model culture was so terrible in the 90s, whatever, that the models, had to, team Baleem and or they never ate and made them throw up and they were on drugs, whatever. And sure, I'm sure model culture is terrible, but most beautiful women are not models. Models are beautiful women who want to get rich and famous, or literally love having their pictures taken and happen to get rich and famous. So there's no really hate or judgment here. But this thing that we're saying, wow, Megan Thee Stallion has shown that there's different kind of beauty. No, you can try to browbeat me and force me into thinking that you're something other than fat. But I'm sorry, you are. Lizzo is really fat. She is. Okay. Tom Shattuck is really fat. He is. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to waste your time. That's why guys are just more honorable when it comes to this stuff. Guys are more honorable. They are. They call each other fat all the time. Guys take shots at each other all the time. And it's healthy. It's not healthy to allow somebody to live this fantasy item so that they're carrying 200 extra pounds. It's not healthy. Why? How many times? And I'm a little disappointed that it's in my Generation X, because I thought that we had a good amount of appropriate cruelty to. Can you make a decision, Pepper? to act as the boundary. Oh, okay.
I knew that was going to happen.
Hey, you know what? It happens. But no, I mean, just people are terrible. People are terrible. Alice, before we get to the chat, is there something else that we should hit here? I mean, I really wanted to talk about the beautiful thing. Oh, no, yes, I have one. So this is what, things are going so bad for Joe Biden that they are now, because they assume, because the left never bothers to learn anything about the right or the center, they assume that Joe Rogan is a big conservative and a Trump guy. Because Rogan has taken ivermectin and shoots animals and didn't lose his mind during the Trump years, they assume he's full MAGA. So the left is going crazy. Yes, that Joe Rogan insulted Trump.
Well, about that guy is that, I'm saying even when you watch him as president, he was full of fucking energy.
Full of it.
Every day. And they say he slept for like 4 hours a night. He's one of those people.
He's on Adderall.
God.
Do you think he's on Adderall?
Yes, I do. Only because there were multiple people who used to work on The Apprentice that were like, he was fucking gassed up for shoots.
Really?
Yeah, because he has trouble reading. He doesn't. He would struggle to read prompter or script when he was just let's say sober. So they would give him that, and he would dial in more on reading because he gets very bored. They said, he would get bored at the CIA briefing in the mornings. He was like, I don't want to read that. There's a daily briefing you get as president. He's like, you fucking
boring.
Read it and then tell me. And if it's boring, so they would have to make it more engaging for him because he would just
I heard
tap
that they
out.
would put his name in briefings multiple times to keep him interested.
And then Kushner, his son-in-law, said that he came up with a formula to keep him engaged.
Kushner did?
Yes, because he obviously was close to him and knew him well, and the formula was like 2 good, 1 bad. So if they were going to give him bad news, he'd go, you start with some good news. So they go, this is going well, everybody's thrilled with you about this. Here's a bad thing. Also, people love you for this. So that's how they would tell him bad news. They couldn't just go, here's a bunch of bad news.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's a man baby.
He's a fucking toddler. Yeah, he's a toddler. It's exactly how I talk to my kids about shit.
Of course, they didn't have to give Trump that much bad news generally because things went pretty well during the Trump presidency. So that made it easier. If you had to give Biden 2 good, 1 bad for news, you wouldn't be able to come up with 2 good things for every bad thing.
Well, but I'm sure they are giving him doing that with Biden, but because he's yelling at the staff. Biden is angry and yelling at the staff. But that's not the point. The point is, because the left thinks this is huge. Rogan was never a huge Trump guy.
Yeah, no.
Ever.
No.
He was not a MAGA guy.
He said he was voting for Bernie.
Maybe the left should start realizing now that some people are not partisan wackos. And just because they divert a little bit from your own worldview doesn't mean they're wacko, Walmart shopping, Trump, ivermectin, white supremacists.
Well, right. And they made like a cottage industry out of this. Like, we're not going to compromise with Nazis. And it's like, well, I actually don't quite agree with you. Well, you must be a Nazi too. Like, that's not a way to win an election in this country. Like, you can't win on that because you just alienate people. And we're seeing the fruits of that borne out in Biden's approval numbers, like across racial divides, gender divides, class divides. People don't like this presidency. I do have a couple new tips for some travel tips from Washington Post, but we can also do that tomorrow. We can do that.
So you've teased it so quickly. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Washington Post have what I felt were some very important travel tips. This piece is called "Beach Trips Can Be Costly to the Environment. Here's how to reduce your impact." For many people, summer is synonymous with the beach, but with hundreds of millions of Americans flocking to coastal areas each year, especially during months when the weather fluctuates between balmy and sweltering, experts say these trips can contribute to the staggering effects of human activities on beaches and oceans. So you can contribute apparently to plastics, climate change, and biodiversity of marine life while you're at the beach. But the good news, there is good news here, is that there are many steps you can take to minimize the environmental impact of your beach vacation. First of all, it starts at home. one of the most important things you can do is not overwater your lawn. Make sure you pick up after your pets. Don't litter so that you don't cause any runoff into waterways and the ocean. And also not over fertilize your lawn and grow native plants, which I don't really see what that has to do with going to the beach, but that's fine. We'll keep it in the column. Think about how far you're going. Plan a trip close to home. And also think about transportation. One of the easiest things to overlook is the impact of getting there. If you need to fly, online resources can help you estimate your carbon emissions. Taking a train, renting an electric vehicle, or carpooling are more environmentally friendly options to consider.
I'm good with it. Thank you so very much. Unless there's something that you feel strongly about it.
I just thought it was important to know.
All right. What's important
going to the beach is problematic now.
Chat, Alice. Here we go.
Okay.
It went well. It was great. I was wondering, what's the last concert both of you been to? Bye.
Oh man, it's been a while. What is the last concert I went to? I saw the Black Eyed Peas in like 2006. Could that have been the last one? Or I'm not sure.
Yeah, I saw the Big Bad Voodoo Daddies in Chicago in 2004 with my friends there. I think that's it. I can't imagine going to a concert. I can't imagine what would be worth going to a concert. Like the getting in there, to getting in line, the walking, the paying for a ticket, the walking to my seat, the sitting there, and then the listening. I can't imagine.
I used to go to more when I was like in college, but
I'm sorry about that. No, that's just, those days are over. Although, you know what looked good was Kirk, the Minahan show up at the Wilbur. Looked like they had a blast. They had the Steve's Liar guy singing Alice. They had all sorts. The band was awesome. Kirk was singing. Looked like a great time. I could have gone to, had somebody cajoled me into going to that, then I could have possibly gone to that. Somebody cajoled me. I assumed that I would get some pressure from Minifans to go, and I got none. I have been dropped by the wayside, Alice. Driven right by.
They're lost, honey.
I am persona non grata. Once they get going together, it is the pretenders to the throne, get cast off. And there I was, like the king who was too busy, by Fern Green. Here we go.
They're lost, sweetie. They're lost.
Poor me. I just wanted to be invited so I could say no. But
maybe I need to start doing movie reviews with Steve from Merrimack. All right, bye.
Oh, yes.
Tom, I think you misinterpreted the saying 35 is the new 20. Just saying.
When did I even do that?
I don't know.
35 is the new 20. How am I missing this? I don't get it. I never said that. 35 is... What is he?
My kid, he needs me to go, but...
Oh, I see. Okay, so we'll just finish. Go. Okay, I see. I didn't realize. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a child demanding...
attention.
Yes. This is a trailer to Heartache.
How long can you eat? You mean Hard 8?
$50.
Okay. And let's mercifully close the show out with Steve.
Hi, it's Steve from Merrimack, responding to Tom's vicious ad hominem attack on me personally, and attack on the town of Merrimack, the last podcast. I'm late responding though because I was doing a poetry reading at one of the many salons in Merrimack.
Correct.
And my latest poem, which was very long, it was like the cantos of Ezra Pound, involved the reason why every other town in America has Little League, but somehow Newburyport, Mass. has Pioneer League. It's brilliant. I hope you check it out. And then also, the actress you were trying to think of was Pam Grier.
Yes.
A beautiful actress from the early 70s who was in Foxy Brown.
Oh, did you ever see that Coffee by Tarantino? Oh, she might be the most beautiful actress of all time.
And Coffee. And she was also in Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown.
So
there you go. And also, I hate the Rex Reed reference because I'm a Leonard Maltin man. Anyway, thank you.
Did you ever see Rex Reed, Alice? We're gonna watch some Rex Reed, some pinnacle of his career, Rex Reed. He was fantastic.
Okay.
Steve, Yes, technically, you're not in Newburyport, my friend. But you know who's from Merrimack, Alice?
I don't know.
Idi Amin. Correct. Also went to Merrimack Public Schools. That is absolutely... You know who Idi Amin is?
Nope.
He was very mean. I'll just say that. But Steve will address this, I assume, very shortly. All right. Well, I feel I underachieved today. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Good. You look great, though.
I need to go to my child.
Oh, yeah. Look at $1,000,000. Here you go.
Play the closing music. All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. You can find us on Twitter at Burn Barrel Pod, Facebook.com/Burn Barrel Podcast. BurnBarrelPodcast.com. You can find all the places to listen. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. You can even... Yes, you can leave a voicemail for the chat. There's a big red button there to do that. And anything else, write us an email, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com.
C'est la vie.